So maybe you've wondered if you're depressed, or if maybe this is just how adult life feels and you just have to kind of accept it for what it is. And I think the longer we live, the more we've had these experiences where we just feel like there's a lot of weight and heaviness in our life, and we're not quite sure if it's actually depression or what's going on. So today I'm going to dive into this topic and give you some really clear indicators of what depression looks like in your life, where it comes from, and what you can actually do about it. So you won't want to miss out on this one. If you're new here, I'm Ketra Thompson. I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relational recovery coach. So what I do is I help my clients go back on a subconscious level to address the issues that are driving their unwanted feelings and behaviors on that subconscious level so they can operate in a different way, functioning differently in life, creating a life they love, and it is always a joy to watch. So if you'd like to find out more about the work that I do, there is a link in the bio. You can check that out, or in the description, I'm sorry. Check that out. It'll tell you all of the different options that you have, as well as offer you a free hypnosis download there. That's my gift to you. And you can also set up a totally free complimentary consultation call so that we can talk one-on-one and see if we're a good fit to work together. So you won't want to miss that. And if this content resonates with you, please hit like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. So depression can be tricky. There's a lot of different variations of it, and it shows up differently. But I'm going to give you kind of a basic list from the Mayo Clinic's website of what they define depression to be, and I happen to agree with a lot of this. So they have it listed that you would have feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, hopelessness. That seems like a given. Angry outbursts, irritability, frustration, even over small meaningless things. Loss of interest or pleasure in most of your normal activities. Even a loss of interest in things that you might have enjoyed before, like sex, or really hobbies that you're into, or sports, or connecting with other people. Sleep disturbances. This is a big one, including insomnia or too much sleeping. So you can have too much or too little, and both of those can be a sign of depressive issues. Tiredness, lack of energy, even small tasks taking an exorbitant amount of energy and feeling like they're just impossible to complete, which wouldn't be the norm for you, right? So reduced appetite is also part of that. Weight loss or increased food cravings and weight gain can be a sign of depressive issues. Anxiety, agitation, restlessness, slowed thinking. This is kind of a big deal. I think this doesn't stand out as depression for most people, but slowed thinking or slowed speaking or slowed body movements can be an indication of this. Feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fixating on past failures or self-blame, trouble thinking, concentrating, making decisions, and remembering things. Frequent or recurrent thoughts of death, suicide, or suicide attempts, and unexplained physical problems such as back pains, headaches, things that just don't make sense. Whew, okay, that's a long list. I just dumped a lot of information there. But if you have any of these issues going on, you probably zoomed in on what those were really quickly as I was reading that out. And a lot of these seem like they're common in our life. And the way that we live our life is really not the way humans were meant to live their life. So we end up with these issues feeling like maybe they're the norm. They are the normal thing. We just have to deal with it. And it's not true. There is some better understanding that you can have about these. So before I dive into that, I also want to mention that some of these symptoms look a little different in older people. So the older we get, these can show up a little differently. So memory difficulties or personality changes can be a part of anyone with depressive issues, but especially show up the older people get. Also, the physical aches and pains tend to increase, fatigue, loss of appetite, problems sleeping, of course, and wanting to stay home a lot more than going out and socializing are all part of this issue as well. So I want you to think about all of these feelings and sensations, these emotions, like the lights on the dashboard of a car. Okay, they're all there to give you information. None of those lights are bad. We might think that check engine light's bad when it comes on, right? Because it's going to cost us some money probably, but none of them are bad. They're giving us information. It depends what we do with the information. And we can be so disconnected from what's going on inside of us, our wants, our needs, our desires, our feelings. We are divorced from ourselves, and then we aren't being assertive in life to take charge and make something happen to create that change. So being divorced from ourselves is really at the heart of this issue, because those feelings are telling us something. So let's say that light on the dashboard of your car, that oil light comes on, and you see it come on, but you never check the oil. You just keep putting gas in the car. That gas isn't going to fix that oil light. You are going to burn up your engine. And this is what we do. We do this in addictive patterns in life, especially when we're emotionally eating, or we're using drugs or alcohol or sex or shopping addiction or whatever it is, to try to fill this void that it's not actually meant to fill, because we're not addressing the real need. And the numbness that comes along with depressive issues, this lack of zest for life, this lack of feeling, is actually one of the most confusing parts about it. Because we might not be having these other issues happening so much, or at least they're not on our radar, but we're kind of numbed out and we feel like we're just kind of barely getting by. We're getting through every day, we're surviving, we're kind of surviving on autopilot, and we don't feel much. We don't feel much joy, we don't feel much sadness, we don't feel much at all, and it's a coping mechanism that we've created internally to help us survive. But it was never meant to be an ongoing thing. Those coping mechanisms are supposed to be very temporary. But when we don't have the support we need, when we don't have the community we need, when we don't have access to the healing modalities that we need, we end up relying on these coping mechanisms. So the first thing that you can do is start tuning into what you're feeling, what's going on inside of you, so that you can pick up on the messages that your body and mind are sending you. And by no means would I suggest that you bypass getting help from a medical doctor. I am obviously a big fan of holistic, drug-free therapies that help, and including hypnotherapy, but I also know that sometimes we need a prescription that gets us over the hump, right? Sometimes we have a true chemical imbalance. We need that balanced prescription forever, and that's fine. Other times people need some kind of help with a prescription to just get them motivated to actually do some of the deeper work. And there's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, I would recommend everyone who feels like they're having a depressive issue to check in with their medical doctor to see if that's something they need. But the other part of this is what's driving it. Right? We can medicate the symptom and still not address what's driving the depressive issues in our life. And so this is why tuning into yourself is a really big deal. Figuring out what you need. Even if no one else can help meet those needs, even you just knowing what kind of support you need in life is huge, because then you can take small steps toward getting that kind of support and toward navigating your life in a different direction. We aren't meant to live alone. We are meant to be tribal people that talks about our issues with one another, that shares the burden with other people, that have deep, meaningful connections, and we are incredibly isolated. So we want to tune into what's going on inside of us so that we can start making conscious choices to meet those needs. And let's face it, sometimes this feels like it's the way it's always been, because our subconscious mind is driving over 95% of everything we think, feel, and do. And that programming happened when we were very young and we didn't have a lot of discernment. So addressing it on a subconscious level through customized hypnotherapy is incredibly impactful. There's a difference between learning something by reading a book and actually having a healing process, because the healing process includes the implementation. It includes the actual feeling different on the inside. Knowing all the stuff in your head is great, But we have to move it from your head to actually feeling different in our bodies, in our lives, and that requires subconscious work and some very intentional choices on your part. So, first of all, you're not alone. A lot of people are struggling with that because of the society we live in and because of our lack of connection and our lack of ability to process and deal with the trauma, the complex traumas in our life that have contributed to a lot of this and us not being supported. So you're not alone, you're not crazy, it's not just you. It happens. It's very common in our society, but I would encourage you to reach out. Reach out for that consultation call if you'd like to get to the heart of what's going on and do some hypnotherapy work on that. Reach out to your medical doctor, see if there's something you need to get you to the point that you're motivated enough to make some changes in your life, and start asking yourself daily, what am I feeling? What do I want, need, or desire? And then give yourself some credit. What's a success I had today? We tend to focus on the negative so much, so we need to train our brain to start focusing on the things that we are doing well. Even if it's that one task that we've been putting off, cleaning those kitchen countertops or whatever it is, start giving yourself some credit and shifting where you put your mental focus. But by all means, don't try to fix all these issues alone. That isn't what is meant to happen with human beings. Reach out, get some help, because depression is something you don't have to have for the rest of your life. This is something you can address, and you can do it through lots of different modalities. But of course, I'm a big fan of hypnotherapy. So if you'd like to learn more, check out that link, set up that consultation, and until next time, curate a life by your own design.